out to be an absolute disaster. Dear Lord. Yeah, baking powder, not soda. You're gonna need 1 teaspoon of this. Hold up. Guys! I messed up! Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're not gonna use this because I use tablespoons, not teaspoons. That's not good. Alrighty, so we're gonna put that over there. So we're gonna redo all the fun stuff we just did. Ugh. You know, I watch Food Network a lot and I watch the Baking Championships a lot. And, you know, I get the stress. I'm feeling super judged by like a 0 audience right now. So, yeah, I really can't wait for everyone to watch this. Hi guys, it's Mary from Teenplicity. I hope you are all doing well and staying safe this holiday season. I messed up the first time, so we won't talk about that. Anyway, trying to get into the holiday fun, Brie and I are doing a cookie baking competition of sorts, where we're both gonna bake our favorite holiday cookies, or just, you know, favorite cookies we like to have, and see which one you guys try and like the best. So for my cookie, I am baking a fudgy chocolate crinkle cookie. It's super yummy and delicious. It's really rich. What it is it's a chocolate cookie dough, and then the way it cooks, when it bakes, it starts to crinkle open. And it's so cool because you're gonna roll it all around in powdered sugar, and then when it's done, you'll see it crinkle open in the powdered sugar. It looks so awesome. I love it. I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's try this thing. Hopefully I'm prepared today because I thought I was last time, and then we saw how that went. So what you're first gonna need is 2 bowls. Get a bigger one, that's where you're gonna put all your wet ingredients. So whatever you're mixing with the pure vanilla extract and the eggs and vegetable oil, that's what you're gonna put in the big one. In the smaller one, you're gonna put the flour and all the other dry ingredients that don't get mixed in till later. So for now, you can put that small one aside. We're gonna use the big one. How you doing, Roger? You doing good? Okay. So we're going to start this off with a 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Now, in the grocery aisle, you might see baking cocoa next to the cocoa powder. I've used baking cocoa before. I find it's fine. The reason why there's a difference is because of the acidity and how it interacts with baking soda. We don't use baking soda in this. We use baking powder. So it's how things level out. I don't really taste the difference with baking cocoa. Maybe that's just me. But a lot of recipes online do suggest using unsweetened cocoa powder instead. So you're going to want 1/2 cup of that. Dear Lord, I didn't think this through at all. So you're going to need a 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Dump that in there. Cool. And then next you're going to want 1 cup of granulated sugar. Now this recipe calls for 2 types of sugar. It calls for confectionery sugar and granulated sugar. You're going to use the granulated sugar when making the cookie dough. The confectionery sugar, which is a very powdery topping kind of sugar, you're going to use that at the very end, so you don't need that yet. Okay, so 1 cup of granulated sugar, you're going to put that in the same bowl as the unsweetened cocoa powder. And then next you're going to want a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. I tend to switch up between vegetable oil and canola oil a lot. I don't know if there's a really big difference. They always seem to taste the same for me. I don't know if it makes a difference with the baking. But yeah, I use canola oil. So a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, or if you're like me and you like to go against the recipe, canola oil. What you're going to do now is you're going to mix all of this fun stuff together, and then we're going to keep adding a couple more ingredients before moving to our small bowl. So if you have a mixer at home, that's great. If you don't, stirring it's good. Just make sure you stir really, really well. This part I find to be really crucial because with the granulated sugar, if you don't mix it well enough, then you can taste those sugar granules when you bite into the cookie. So make sure you mix it really, really well, get everything all together, and then you shouldn't be tasting any of those like crystals at all when you bite into the cookie later. All right, so you're gonna mix it together. Alright, so it's going to look like this. It kind of looks like dirt. So that's what your dough is going to look like right now. What we're going to do next is we're going to add in 2 eggs. You're supposed to beat them in one at a time. I still use the mixer. It's just easier for me. As to whether or not this changes the cookie, we'll find out. If you are a professional baker or if you're really good at baking, please do not judge me. Okay, so you're going to need 2 eggs. You are going to add them in one at a time, and you're going to be mixing them into this. But I don't feel like getting it. Alright, so once they're fully mixed in, and it looks a lot similar to brownie batter, you're going to add in your vanilla. So where am I? This is where I went wrong yesterday, and I ended up using a tablespoon and not a teaspoon. Past me is really regretting it. So you're going to want actually 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I got lucky. My sister and my dad went on a cruise last year because of a hurricane that came through. They ended up having to port in Mexico for a couple days. So they brought me back vanilla from Mexico. Regular vanilla extract that you have that you can get from the store is perfect. It's going to really help bring out the other flavors. Alright, so you're going to need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Bam. Bam. Cool. Alrighty. And you're going to mix this in. So you're going to just mix it all in. You're going to see again, it really looks like brownie batter. It's good. Now what you're going to do is we're done with the wet ingredients for now. So we're going to put that to the side. We're going to move to the dry ingredients. So in that smaller bowl, you're going to take that. This way we're going to use the flour, the baking powder, and the salt. Okay, so you're going to need 1 cup of flour. Bam. You know, this moment yesterday was when I realized I've been using tablespoons instead of teaspoons. Baking powder, not soda. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of this. Hold up. I learned my lesson. So you're going to want 1 teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda. The difference really has to do with how it rises and when you can bake it. You know, with this recipe, I tend to refrigerate it for 4 hours. You can refrigerate it overnight for 24 hours. But because we're using baking powder, you can really just stick it right in the oven if you want to. All right. So 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then you want half a teaspoon of salt. I don't have half teaspoon, so I'm doing 2/4. Alrighty. And now you're going to get a spoon and you're going to just stir this all together. That way everything's all mixed so that when you put it in the wet, it's not like, oh my god, it's all flour at once and stuff. You're just going to mix it all together right now. So you're going to stir all these dry ingredients together. And it's just going to look like a white powdery mess. Okay. You're supposed to pour the dry mixture into your wet mixture and stir it until you get a dough. So definitely stir the dry mixture into the wet little by little. You don't want that to be overwhelming in the wet mixture that you can't get it going all together. If you have arm muscles, it's like the best part. You're gonna do great. If you're like me and you have literally no muscle in your body, it's a workout. Why did I think this was a good idea? This dough, although it looks small, it makes either 12 really large cookies or it can make 20 to 24 smaller cookies. But it's really cool because you'll get to see them kind of crack open. It's awesome. I love it. So this is what your dough is going to look like. You're going to wrap it up and we're going to stick it in the fridge for 4 hours. So you can leave it in the fridge overnight if you want to and cook it tomorrow. I don't have the patience, so I try and make sure I get it done all in one day just because these are my favorite cookies, so of course I want to eat them that night. So yeah, just make sure that you have them tightly wrapped. I use aluminum foil. I find that saran wrap or plastic wrap doesn't keep it tightly wrapped at all. So you're going to refrigerate it, and yeah, and when we pull this out of the fridge, I'll let you know what to do next. Alrighty, see you guys in 4 hours. Alright, so it has been 4 hours, which means it is time to take our dough out of the oven and use it to put in the oven. Anyway, it's been 4 hours. Time to take our dough out of the oven. That way we can roll it in the powder, let it crinkle, and get our crinkle cookies. Alright, let's go take it out. So for this section of the cooking, it's been 4 hours. We just took our dough out of the fridge. It's nice and cold. What else you need is obviously pan. I always recommend parchment paper to put on your pan before you put on the dough. Thank you, Roger. So I recommend parchment paper to put on your pan before you put on the dough. It doesn't stick, and especially when you have confectionery sugar, it gets everywhere. So this really helps minimize the mess and minimize the stick. Now, I never have gloves for this just because my household didn't buy them. But because of the pandemic, we have plenty of gloves in my house. I'm going to be using a pair to roll the dough. That really, if you don't have gloves on when you're rolling the dough, which I never did until now, your hands are going to get very, very chocolatey and very sticky. And it's a little bit of an annoyance to get off just because you're really scrubbing hard. And you're also going to need spoons, depending on how large you want your cookies. Do you want a bunch of small cookies or do you want a bunch of large cookies? It really depends on what your preference is. Sometimes I just eyeball it and don't even know, so it's always fun. Alright. And what you're going to need is confectionery sugar. You're going to put that in a bowl, but you're only going to need 1/4. Now, this doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, you're going to probably still have some extra. So, I'm going to get my little parchment ready first. So I'm going to stick that over there. I'm going to get the 1/4 of confectionery sugar. It may not seem like a lot, but trust me, it is. Alrighty. I'm going to take that awesome cover off of our stuff, off of our dough. Alrighty, let's make small ones. Alright, so you see, I grabbed a little bit extra. You're going to roll that. See, look, it's a nice ball. Yay, it rolls. You're going to take that ball and you're going to stick it in your powdered sugar. See how sticky this dough is already? Alrighty. Once you've rolled it around in your powdered sugar, you're going to stick it on the plate. Now these are going to crinkle open, so you're going to want to leave it some space. That way it has that opportunity to crinkle open. And now, let's see how many more we can fit on here. Obviously, they don't have to be perfect circles. This is a lumpy mess. So don't get hard on yourself if it's not perfect. No one's perfect. Alright, so this is one tray. I've got 11 balls on here of different sizes. So you see that? I still have plenty of dough for a couple more. And plenty of powdered sugar. So don't worry about that. You don't need more than a quarter cup. Trust me. I've learned. Now that all that fun stuff is done, you're going to have a tray that kind of looks like this. I did various different sizes. It's whatever you want. But so what you're going to do is you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. Wherever you're from, whatever works best. And then once that's preheated, we're going to stick these in the oven for about 10 minutes. And I tend to do 10 minutes and 30 seconds, just because I find that's a sweet middle, especially if you have some larger cookies mixed in, because if you have larger cookies, you're going to want to do it for an additional minute, 2 minutes. So I find 10 minutes and 30 seconds to be perfect. Alright, so let's stick these in the oven. Are they coming along? Bam. Look at them crinkling up. This is what they're going to look like. Time to take it out of the oven. We're going to hit cancel for now. Alrighty, ready? Bam! Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Oven mitt, safety first. Look at how great that looks. I love it. Now if we go over here to our finished ones, 10 out of 10, recommend. Good.